Close your eyes, dear listener, and let the world around you fade. Imagine a soft, warm blanket draped over your shoulders, the kind that feels like a hug from someone long gone. The air is cool, the night is quiet, and the stars above seem to hum with stories of ages past. Tonight, we're traveling back, far back, to a time when homes were small, lives were shared, and love found its way in the softest, most unexpected corners. This is a tale of medieval life, of couples who wove intimacy from whispers and glances in homes where privacy was a dream, not a given. There's no rush here, no hurry. Let your breath slow, let your thoughts drift like leaves on a gentle stream. Settle in, and let's wander together into the past. Picture a village, nestled in a valley where the hills roll like waves frozen in time. It's evening, and the golden light of sunset spills over thatched roofs, turning them the color of warm honey. Smoke curls lazily from chimneys, blending with the mist that creeps in from the fields. In these homes, small, single rooms of wood and straw, entire families lived, worked, and slept side by side. Mothers, fathers, children, grandparents, and sometimes even neighbors shared one space, one fire, one life. Yet, in these crowded rooms, love bloomed. Couples found ways to carve out moments, to share secrets, to hold each other close, even when the world around them offered no walls, no doors, no solitude. This story isn't about grand castles or noble romances. It's about ordinary people, farmers, weavers, bakers, who loved deeply in the humblest of spaces. Through their daily routines, their quiet customs, and their unspoken agreements, they made room for intimacy. We'll explore how they did it, how love found a way to whisper through the noise of crowded lives. So, let your eyelids grow heavy, let your mind soften, and let's step gently into their world. A world of firelight, shared blankets, and the soft rustle of straw beneath sleeping bodies. Imagine a single room, no larger than the space where you might gather with your family for a meal. The walls are rough, made of woven sticks and mud, smoothed by hands that worked the land. A fire burns low in the center, its embers casting a warm, flickering glow across the room. The air smells of wood smoke, straw, and the faint tang of stew simmering in a pot. This is the heart of a medieval home, a single space where life unfolded. Here, a family of 8, 10, or even 12 might live. They cooked, ate, worked, and slept in this one room, their lives woven together like the threads of a tapestry. The floor is packed earth, softened by layers of straw or rushes, replaced when they grew too worn. In one corner, a wooden bench doubles as a seat by day and a bed by night. A few stools, a table worn smooth by years of use, and perhaps a chest for storing clothes or grain, these are the furnishings. Above, the roof is thatched, thick bundles of straw tied tightly to keep out the rain. Sometimes, a small loft holds extra straw or sacks of barley, reached by a rickety ladder. At night, everyone gathers here, spreading blankets or cloaks on the floor, curling up close to the fire for warmth. This was a world without partitions, without separate rooms. Children slept near their parents, grandparents near the door to keep watch. A baby might fuss in a cradle, rocked gently by a tired mother. Yet, in this closeness, there was a rhythm, a shared understanding. Couples, newly married or long together, found their intimacy not in solitude, but in the quiet spaces they created together, spaces made of glances, soft touches, and moments stolen when the fire burned low and the room grew still. Life in a one-room home followed the rhythm of the sun. At dawn, the family stirred, the fire was rekindled, and the day began. Women might knead dough for bread, their hands moving in a slow, practiced dance, while men prepared tools for the fields or mended nets by the firelight. Children scampered about, feeding chickens or fetching water from a nearby stream, their laughter mingling with the crackle of the fire. The room was alive with movement, voices, and the hum of work, yet there was a kind of harmony in it, like a song everyone knew by heart. Couples shared these tasks, their lives intertwined in every moment. A husband might carve a wooden spoon while his wife stirred a pot, their eyes meeting now and then, a silent conversation passing between them. These small moments were the threads of their intimacy, woven into the fabric of daily life. There was no room for grand gestures, no space for private retreats. Instead, love lived in the ordinary. In the way a wife might tuck a sprig of lavender into her husband's cloak, or how a husband might linger a moment longer when passing his wife a basket, their fingers brushing. At night, when work was done, the family gathered around the fire. Stories were told, songs were sung, or prayers were whispered. Couples sat close, their shoulders touching, their voices low. In these moments, the crowded room seemed to fade, and they found a kind of privacy, not in walls, but in the quiet space they built with their presence. Privacy, as we know it, was a rare thing in medieval homes. With so many people sharing one room, solitude was a luxury few could afford. Yet, couples found ways to carve out their own space, not with walls, but with creativity and care. They relied on the rhythms of the household, the moments when others were distracted or asleep, to share their quiet intimacies. One custom was the use of curtains or hangings, simple lengths of wool or linen draped around a corner of the room. These weren't walls, but they offered a soft barrier, a suggestion of separation. A couple might hang a cloth near their sleeping pallet, creating a nook where they could whisper or hold each other close. These hangings were often embroidered with simple patterns, flowers, vines, or crosses, stitched by hand over long winter evenings. They were a labor of love, a way to claim a small piece of the world for themselves. Another way couples found intimacy was through timing. Late at night, when the fire had burned to embers and the snores of children and grandparents filled the room, a couple might share a quiet moment. They spoke in hushed tones, their words blending with the crackle of the fire. A touch, a shared smile, a hand resting on a shoulder, these were their private language, understood only by each other. In a world without doors, they built their own kind of sanctuary. In medieval villages, life was shaped by rituals, small, repeated acts that gave structure to the days. For couples, these rituals were a way to nurture their bond, even in a crowded home. One such custom was the sharing of meals. The family ate together, seated on benches or the floor, passing a single bowl of stew or a loaf of bread. But a couple might share a special moment, a husband saving the softest part of the bread for his wife, or a wife slipping an extra spoonful of honey into her husband's porridge. These acts were small, but they carried the weight of care, a silent promise of devotion. Another ritual was the tending of the fire. In many homes, the fire was never allowed to go out, a symbol of the family's endurance. Couples often shared this task, one adding wood while the other stirred the coals. In these moments, standing close in the flickering light, they could speak softly, their words hidden by the crackle of the flames. It was a kind of intimacy, built not in isolation, but in partnership. Weddings, too, were a ritual that lingered in the life of a couple. Even in humble homes, a marriage was marked by small tokens, a woven ring, a carved wooden box, or a sprig of rosemary tucked into a bride's hair. These tokens were kept, cherished, and sometimes passed down, a reminder of the promises made. In the crowded one-room home, these rituals and objects became anchors, holding love steady amidst the bustle of life. In a home where every sound carried and every movement was seen, couples learned to speak without words. A glance across the room, a hand resting lightly on an arm, a foot nudging another under the table, these were the ways love was expressed. It was a language built on subtlety, on understanding the smallest gestures. A wife might brush her husband's hair from his forehead as he bent over a task, her touch lingering just a moment. A husband might stand close as his wife spun wool, his hand steadying the spindle for a heartbeat longer than needed. These moments were fleeting, but they were enough. They were like the sparks that rose from the fire, brief but bright, carrying warmth into the air. Children might giggle, grandparents might pretend not to notice, but the couple knew. They understood each other in the tilt of a head, the curve of a smile. It was a kind of intimacy that didn't need walls, only trust. Even in sleep, couples found ways to stay close. On cold nights, they curled together on their straw pallet, sharing a single blanket. The warmth of their bodies, the rhythm of their breathing, became a private world, even as others slept nearby. In these quiet moments, love was a steady presence, as constant as the fire that warmed the room. Life in a medieval village was tied to the seasons, and so was love. In spring, couples might steal moments in the fields, planting seeds side by side, their hands brushing in the soft earth. The air was fresh, scented with blossoms, and the world felt new. A husband might pick a wildflower and tuck it into his wife's braid, a small gift that spoke of spring's hope. In summer, the long days meant more work, but also more time outdoors. Couples might sit together after a day's labor, watching the sun sink below the hills, their shoulders touching as they shared a moment of rest. Autumn brought harvest, a time of abundance but also urgency. Families worked together, and couples found intimacy in their shared effort, cutting grain, gathering apples, or stacking wood for winter. The air grew crisp, and the fire in the home became the center of life once more. Winter was the quietest season, when the world slowed and the one-room home became a refuge. Couples sat close by the fire, mending clothes or telling stories, their voices low and steady. In these long, dark months, their closeness was a kind of warmth, as vital as the fire itself. Each season brought its own rhythm, its own way of weaving love into the fabric of life. There was no need for grand declarations, only the steady presence of each other, through planting and harvest, through cold nights and warm days. In a one-room home, possessions were few, but each held meaning. For couples, certain objects became tokens of their love, small anchors in a shared life. A carved wooden spoon, made by a husband's hands, might be used every day, its smooth handle a reminder of his care. A wife might weave a narrow band of cloth, dyed with woad or madder, and tie it around her husband's wrist, a quiet gift, worn close to the skin. Some couples kept a small box, no larger than a loaf of bread, where they stored their treasures, a lock of hair, a pressed flower, or a ring made of twisted grass. These boxes were often carved with simple designs, intertwined lines or a crude heart, etched during long evenings by the fire. They were private, a place where love could be tucked away, safe from the bustle of the household. Even the bedding held meaning. A couple's blanket, patched and re-stitched over years, was a shared history, its way to comfort on cold nights. Some couples marked their pallets with a small symbol, a stitched cross or a knot of colored thread, to claim their space, however small. These objects, humble as they were, carried the weight of love, of promises kept in the quiet corners of a crowded life. In a medieval village, no one lived alone. The community was a web, each family tied to the others by need, custom, and care. For couples, this meant their love was not just their own, it was part of the village's rhythm. Neighbors knew each other's joys and sorrows, and a couple's bond was strengthened by the support of those around them. When a new couple married, the village might gather to help build their home, raising the timber frame or thatching the roof, their laughter and chatter filling the air. This closeness could be a challenge, too. In a one-room home, there was little that went unseen or unheard. Yet, the community understood the need for intimacy. Elders might distract children with stories, or neighbors might step outside to give a couple a moment alone. It was an unspoken agreement, a way of honoring love within the shared life of the village. Festivals, too, offered moments for couples to connect. At harvest feasts or midsummer dances, couples could hold hands openly, their steps in time with the music of a lute or pipe. These moments, surrounded by the village, were a kind of public intimacy, a celebration of their bond woven into the life of the community. When night fell, the one-room home grew still. The fire burned low, its embers a soft pulse of light. The sounds of the day, laughter, footsteps, the clatter of pots, faded, replaced by the gentle rhythm of breathing, the occasional creak of the roof, or the distant howl of a wolf in the hills. This was the time when couples found their deepest intimacy, in the quiet spaces between sleep and waking. They might lie close, their bodies pressed together for warmth, their whispers soft as the rustle of straw. They spoke of small things, the day's work, a child's milestone, a hope for the next season. These conversations were their sanctuary, a world built for two, even as others slept nearby. Sometimes, they said nothing at all, content to listen to the fire's crackle or the wind outside. In this quiet, love was a presence, steady and unspoken. It was in the way they shared a blanket, in the way their hands found each other in the dark. As the night deepened, the world outside seemed to fade, and their small corner of the room became everything, a haven, a promise, a place where love could rest. And so, dear listener, we come to the end of our journey, back to the present, where the world is quiet and the night is soft. The medieval village fades, its thatched roofs and glowing fires becoming a memory, like a dream that lingers just before waking. But the story of those couples, who found love in the crowded corners of their one-room homes, stays with us. Their love was not loud or grand, but it was deep, woven into the small moments of their days, the touch of a hand, the sharing of a blanket, the whisper of a name in the dark. As you lie there, let your breath slow, let your thoughts drift. Imagine the warmth of a fire, the softness of straw beneath you, the steady presence of someone you love. Let the cares of the day slip away, carried off by the wind that hums through the hills. You are safe here, held by the quiet of the night, just as those couples were held by their small, shared spaces. Sleep now, gently, easily. Let the stories of the past wrap around you like a blanket, warm and familiar. The world will wait, the morning will come, but for now, there is only this moment, this stillness, this peace. Good night, dear listener, and may your dreams be as soft as the firelight that lit those long-ago homes.